for many people, they reach a lot of happiness, but they do not feel that they are happy. This is a very big problem with a lot of people, especially with a lot of business people who work in business. So they have a lot of money, and a lot of my clients, they earn maybe 20 times more money than me, maybe 100 times more. But you know what? There are a lot of proverbs about money, just like money can't bring you happiness. And money isn't everything. And for a lot of people, it's just money, and they do not allow themselves to have a good conversation with someone, to relax, to do something, even just to drink a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, or maybe a glass of champagne or a glass of wine, but not in half a minute time, but just like when you drink it and when you enjoy every single sip.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Age of Reinvention, your go-to podcast for inspiring stories, strategies, and insights on navigating the exciting, often challenging journey of midlife reinvention. Today, I beam with excitement as we invite to our virtual studio a luminous personality known for lighting up the corridors of academia and the lives of many with her expertise in positive thinking and the science of laughter. Let's give a warm welcome to the incredibly talented Dr. Anna Litovkina. She is distinguished professor at Hans Selye University in Slovak Republic, a multilingual author, many books, internationally recognized speaker, and the beacon of optimism with over 150 scientific publications to her name. With contagious enthusiasm, she unfolds the power of positivity and humor, guiding us on how to turn ambition into achievement. Join us as we delve into a conversation with Anna, gaining insight from her cross-cultural experiences and uncovering the pivotal moment of her life's reinvention. Whether you're reimagining your career or seeking joy daily, today's discussion promises to brighten your perspective. Hello, Anna. I'm really happy to have you in my studio. And I will repeat after them below the recording all your multiple works and titles and accolades, but I'm looking forward to start the conversation.
Hello, Emily. Yes, I'm also very happy to be with you. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for being with me and looking at your really multiple qualification and experiences, I would say. I would like to start with from the beginning. Your diverse educational background and life journey, including immigration and professional work in different countries, are truly fascinating. Could you share with our listeners and me what inspired you, being yourself at 55 years old and already many years professor in several universities, to pursue a Master of Art in Practical Psychology, following your next transformation to be a coach?
Oh, okay. Thank you for your question. So first of all, I would like to tell our listeners that I'm 61 years old, and 5 years ago, I got my master's degree in psychology and in coaching. And this is my degree from the University of it's Russian University. Actually, this university is absolutely unique, our University of Practical Psychology. Before that, a few decades ago, I got a degree in linguistics and in literature from Moscow Lomonosov University. For many decades, I have been working as an educator. Nowadays, I'm a professor. I have been teaching English. Sometimes I teach Russian. Sometimes I teach Hungarian as foreign language. And years ago, I had this idea that I would like to study psychology. Psychology fascinates me, and I think that it's important for everyone to be familiar with the basic laws of psychology, just simply to have a happy life. And in 2017, I was accepted for that program. I didn't really want to change my job because I'm very happy with my job, but I just wanted to learn a lot from fantastic teachers, fantastic coaches, fantastic psychologists there, and I wanted to become happier. So I think I'm quite a happy person. I have really some kind of good attitude towards life, and we met with you at the festival. Возраст счастья or the age of happiness. So because I think for you and similar to me, we just wanted to get some new techniques, some new strategies in order to become even happier. So I wanted to become even happier. I wanted to meet new people. I wanted to start doing other things. I wanted to become a coach. And this is what happened. So I got a degree of psychology. I got a degree of a coach. And I haven't changed my job. I'm still a professor, but I frequently have some clients in coaching. And I think it's absolutely fantastic. Even if you are 50 or you are 55, I was the oldest person. There were about 80 students, and I think I was the oldest person there. But as my peers said, that I was the most energetic person, that I was the most enthusiastic person there when I was doing my studies.
Can I make conclusion that kind of every new course over the life, or new studies, or upgrade, or new topics make you kind of more positive because it's created new vision for you, new vision of life? How you would summarize it?
You're absolutely right. So I like studying. I like learning. It's not only that I like attending different courses. The week when I got my degree in Moscow and the week when I was defending my thesis, that week I was the chair of the state exam committee at my university. So imagine, isn't it strange? Just like here, I'm a strict person. So here, if anyone is not okay, so I was the chair of a committee, state exam. Students were defending their dissertations or their thesis. And a few days later, I fly to Moscow, 2019, at the very end of May, and I defend my own thesis. I think that it's absolutely fine if we are 50, if we are 40, even if we are 60, to learn certain new things, to meet new people. So for me, it's absolutely fantastic. I like learning. I like studying. And there are some kind of people who start learning or who start studying and they never finish. I'm a kind of person who, when I start, it's almost always that I finish. So if the education is fine, I finish it. And I get some new skills, I get some new knowledge, I meet some new people. So my life becomes more interesting, more exciting.
Your experience spanned across various cultures and countries, including substantial long experience living in Hungary, tenure in Budapest, and educational roots in Moscow, Russia. How do these cultural experiences shape your understanding and probably methodology in coaching other individuals through the life's transition and reinvention in the new culture and country? And I believe it's important now for many people because so many changes happening around us that these skills are really required.
I think actually one of my maybe most important skills, maybe not skills, but features, is flexibility and the skill to be adaptive. I was 22 years old when I got married and when I moved to Hungary. Imagine, I started absolutely new life. Just like I moved from the Soviet Union, I started absolutely new life, new language, new friends, new colleagues. So everything was absolutely new. Afterwards, years later, I got a Fulbright scholarship. I went to California, and I spent 1 year at University of California at Berkeley. I was doing my research in one of the best universities in the world. So I teach now. I live in Hungary. I teach in Slovakia. I have clients from all over the world. And you know that I also have a hobby. I like recording interviews. So I also have podcast, or I have YouTube channel. And I consider myself the citizen of the world, the citizen of the planet, or the citizen of the universe. I do not restrict myself to any language, because my mother tongue is Russian, but I live in Hungary. My Hungarian is very good. I have published numerous books in Hungarian language. So I teach English language, and I also have clients. Maybe I do coaching in Russian language, maybe I do coaching in Hungarian language, or maybe even in English language. And I also record interviews in Russian, in English, and in Hungarian language. So I think that the way that I have been to numerous countries, and the way that I speak different languages, and also that I sometimes teach here, I sometimes have workshops here or there. So it helps me to understand people from various cultures. It helps me to understand what kind of problems they might have in their particular setting. In my clients, it depends, because sometimes I have a client who comes only just for one session. A coach, so if you work as a coach, very frequently you just do one session. For example, someone has a kind of goal, and one session might be absolutely enough. Sometimes some clients might have 5 sessions or 10 sessions and so on. It was really fantastic. It was about 5 years ago when I went to London, and I took part in a wonderful seminar, or you can call it workshop or event, Tony Robbins had. So Tony Robbins unleashed the power within. And I was walking on a fire there. I was doing a lot of other crazy things. And for example, there I met a very nice person. And immediately when we were talking, she told me that she would like to become my client. And I told her, wonderful. And she became my client. And for example, once while she was my client, that in coaching, very frequently, you might work with the metaphor of life. And actually, I myself, as a coach, I cannot really talk about some other people's sessions, but I can talk about her, because after numerous sessions, I recorded 2 interviews with her. And one of the interview was discussion of coaching with me. And we were talking about one of the sessions. And imagine, while I was coaching her, I just saw that something was really very hard in her life. And I just asked her, what is the metaphor of your life? And she told me that life for me is that I have a backpack, a heavy backpack. My backpack is on, and I am going up and up, and I'm sweating, and it's very hard. It's very unpleasant. Everything is absolutely hard. And you know what is very interesting for me, for example, to have a backpack is absolutely fantastic. So I like hiking and I like climbing mountains. For example, a few weeks ago, I went to Kyrgyzstan. For 10 days, I was hiking there, like 4,000 meters. Sometimes my backpack was 10 or even 12 kilograms of weight. But for me, even despite the fact that it was very hard, for me, it's fantastic. Just like for me, when I hike, when I carry my backpack, so it is just adventurous. But for her, it was not adventurous. For her, it was a burden. And I asked her, would you like to change this metaphor that life is burden? And she said, can I? I said, of course, you can. So how would you like to look at your life? Because your life might be anything you can imagine. And she says, oh, that's wonderful. I am just sitting. A plane is just flying, and I'm drinking a glass of champagne, and everything is fantastic. Life is beautiful. So everything is just gorgeous. And I asked her, do you like it? And she said, yes. And next time, for example, when you see or when you think that something very hard is happening, just like you can transform, you can start thinking, you can visualize it in different way. 2 days later, she called me and she told me, imagine today what has happened. She said that I have earned $12,000 just because of this new metaphor. Something happened. I will not tell you what. Something happened she told me, but I will not tell you. So, and something happened among her and someone, and she was going to behave the way, she was going to react at it the way she always did. And suddenly she just told herself, oh no, let me imagine that life is wonderful, that I am sitting and I'm drinking champagne, and life is not my burden, and it is not burden. And immediately the situation was solved in a few minutes' time. And immediately she was offered $12,000. Imagine, not in dollars, but in rubles. And she was so happy that she told me, I would like to pay 10 more sessions. I say, you don't really need so many programs. No, I would like. So that was one of the things.
Just redefining her vision, just giving the different perspective on probably the same circumstances she had brought her to different outcome.
Absolutely. And later on, she had this mentor, she had that mentor, she learned this, she started sometimes attending the sessions of psychologists and so on. And her life has really changed. And it is not the money, because she earns a lot of money and she has always earned a lot of money. It's not the money, but it's just, you can have all the money of the world, but if you're not happy, if money doesn't make you happy, and for her, she started having this kind of feeling that something is, and I think this is what we learned in May when we went to Montenegro to this festival, the Age of Happiness. So how to be happier, how to have more enjoyable life.
But I would say sometimes we need supporters like you, coaches, many people need, just to bring you back, because with circumstances of our life, we might get out of this positive thinking or correct thinking, I would say. And sometimes we need somebody who will bring us back. That's why I believe people looking for coaches like you. And I believe it's mostly, it's very important in every age, but in midlife, when we have really some burden of the past mistakes and maybe, not very lucky circumstances or losses in our life, it became more and more important to be on this in this correct positive attitude, which I can tell not always so easy to attain.
Mm-hmm. A lot of people come to me when they watch some of my interviews, and they like my energy, and they like my this kind of light, and I really feel very happy about this.
So it's contagious, yes.
There is a proverb in English: misery loves company. Just like if you're miserable, so a lot of people might also become very miserable around you. But another one, and this is which I prefer: smile and the world smiles with you, cry and you cry along. And I think it's much better to smile and to laugh, especially these days when there is much misery in the world, when there are numerous wars. And so to help people, yes, it's very important.
The concept of redefining our lifestyle and purpose at midlife is pivotal to my podcast, to our podcast. How do you define the freedom at midlife in context of reinvention? Can you provide insights or examples from your coaching practice or your personal life that exemplifies this idea?
It was a few decades ago when I decided that I'm not going to work just for money. So my father was an extremely happy person. He was a physicist. My brother is also a physicist. And my father really loved his job. He liked hiking, kayaking. He had a lot of friends. And he always said that just you should work not for money, but you should work because you like doing what you do. And I'm extremely lucky. I think I'm extremely lucky that I got my degree and immediately I got a job. And so I like my job. I have liked all my jobs at various universities. So from this point of view, it is extremely important for me to like what I do. It's more important than anything else. For me, it's very important to have time, enough time for doing sports. For example, yesterday in Hungary, it was extremely hot. I went, for example, hiking. I did about 20 kilometers of hiking, about 1,000 meters up and 1,000 meters down. And altogether, the hike was about 20 kilometers. Today, for example, I went in the morning. I spent a few hours with an acquaintance. We went to Turkish bath. A few days ago, I did about 120 kilometers. I rode a bike. Tomorrow, I'm going to spend a wonderful day with my daughter and with my granddaughter. My granddaughter is about 11 months old. The day after tomorrow, I'm going to opera. On Thursday, I'm going to record an interview about the psychology of justice. And on Friday, I'm going to have a 5-day trip. I just want to explain to you that basically, I do not really follow this kind of program or this kind of vision, new freedom lifestyle, but this is what I have been doing all the time.
So for you, it's natural.
For me, it's absolutely natural. So it's not that someone tells me what I should do or just like move somewhere or do this. For example, this is what I know, that if I want to like my life, I need to relax a lot. I need to do sports, and this is what I like: to ski, to hike, to swim, and to have good friends, to have good relationships, and so on. And this is what I do without thinking about any kind of new trends. And if I think about my clients, why do people want to have a coach? Because actually, the vast majority of clients who come to coaching, they're extremely successful, but they would like to become even more successful. This is why they need a coach. And for example, it's fine that I'm not only a coach, but I also have a background in psychology. But what is really wonderful, that for many people, they reach a lot of happiness, but they do not feel that they're happy. This is a very big problem with a lot of people, especially with a lot of business people who work in business. So they have a lot of money, and a lot of my clients, they earn maybe 20 times more money than me, maybe 100 times more. But you know what? There are a lot of proverbs about money, just like money can't bring you happiness. And money isn't everything. And for a lot of people, it's just money, and they do not allow themselves to have a good conversation with someone, to relax, to do something, even just to drink a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, or maybe a glass of champagne or a glass of wine, but not in half a minute time, but just like when you drink it and when you enjoy every single sip. So just to be mindful, to be at this particular moment. And I think that from this point of view, it's very important. Years ago, I attended a course, a mindfulness-based stress reduction course. John Kabat-Zinn, I love him so much. So
I read all his books in the past. Yes, the best what I can say for me, and I'm happy for you in this field where there are so many other names lately, but he's the first and only for me.
yes, absolutely. And I attended his 8-week course on mindfulness. And I think actually for me, that was absolutely something absolutely fantastic when you just realize that you do not want to do everything just like multitasking, because I'm a very good multitasker. I can do so many things. I'm very efficient. But the problem is that you do not really want to be a multitasker. If you want to be happier, it's better to be involved just in one kind of thing. It's not good if you listen to a lecture, for example, and meanwhile, if you are texting to your friend, simply you cannot do both of them in very good ways. And I think this is also fantastic. So I do a lot of things. I sometimes, with my daughter, we sometimes organize some retreats. We call these retreats mindfulness, hike, for example, and yoga retreats. My daughter is responsible for yoga. I'm responsible for happiness. Both of us are responsible for hikes, and we have wonderful participants. We do these programs here in English. And hopefully when my granddaughter is a little bit older, we will start doing these retreats again. 2 years ago, one of our participants came from Switzerland. Can you imagine that? My daughter was responsible for writing letters. We thought she was about 20, 25. And imagine a woman who was over 75 gets a retreat on yoga, hiking, mindfulness and psychology of happiness, we were absolutely just amazed. So since that time, she has visited me here in Budapest. So we have done a lot of programs. We have also visited her in Switzerland. So when I have a look at these people, or I have a friend of mine who is over 80, she's 85. And for example, she writes books. Last year, 3 books of hers were published. 2 years ago, 4 books of hers were published. So she started dealing with this just a few years ago. So a lot of people can do new things, or you can continue doing old things. You can enjoy doing it.
I believe that the problem with many people, it's what I notice, at least in North America, it's overburdened with work, with business tasks. That's why this multitasking, which businesses require today, or full-time job, there's more and more pressure on quality of work. And actually multitasking for years was part of the job requirements for many positions. And I know it from the personal experience. And even people who liked their job initially became really tired, frustrated, stressed out. What you would recommend for people like that, and specifically now when they move into the midlife, when you cannot perform on a speed and actually you don't need to do multitasking, but it's requirements for your job. So how, and there is a problem of balance. So people so tired from their work in North America, at least what I see, that with all their love and desire to relax, they feel that with this perpetual mobile and they cannot get from the wheel.
Research shows that if you do multitasking, you are not good in this. For example, if you do 2 different things, you are not good in 2 of them. So it's much better. You are more efficient if you do not do multitasking. For example, research shows that, for example, in numerous firms, you are required to respond to email letters. Maybe, for example, you need to check email letters maybe 10 times an hour, or maybe even more frequently. And imagine if you write something, if you write an essay, and if every 5 or 10 minutes you need to check something, simply you lose your ideas, you lose your sentences. So it is not good. For me, it's very hard to recommend to such people. For example, I myself, I wouldn't go to such jobs.
Not all people have flexibility of finding the job, specifically when they're in midlife. And it's harsh realities that, like, I noticed on myself. And I was very good at multitasking years ago.
I'm a very good multitasker. My mother was such a good multitasker that I learned from her. But when we talk about multitasking, imagine I can put, for example, something in the oven. I can also put something into my washing machine. I can also do other things. This is very good. This is what we do permanently. And I think it's absolutely good to do certain things. But multitasking is, for example, you record an interview, and if there is my cell phone near me, I just suddenly start mental multitasking. So this is simply not good. People do not feel as happy. So people feel happy even if you are involved. Research has showed, for example, in Harvard, there are some scholars, I don't remember now their names, but they have fantastic TED Talks on this, on happiness is when your mind doesn't wander. So even if you sweep your floors, it's much better if you just sweep your floors. And if you concentrate on this, or if you do certain other things, it's much better if you do that way. But the vast majority of people, and especially young people, they do this kind of multitasking. A couple of weeks ago, I went to the opera. It was fantastic. My favorite Traviata. In front of me, one person was permanently checking his Facebook. Someone else was using WhatsApp. So for me, it is just amazing. Why are you there? Why aren't you listening? Just this music is so beautiful.
It's addiction. Sometimes people feel sometimes you wait for important message, but it might be 1 or 2, but it's just automatic performance.
And the problem is that nowadays we are forced to do it. People who deal with marketing, people who deal with advertising, they know how to attract our attention. And from this point of view, I think if you are mindful, if you want to live mindful life, so in this case, I just have to say no to multitasking of this kind, no to scrolling, no to many other things, because simply it is not my life. I'm not talking that just like never watch, do the Facebook. I have my Facebook page and I frequently post certain things there. But it's okay if you do it a couple of times a day. But if you do it once every 5 minutes, so this is a problem.
It's a problem with people who are not so strong on planning their life, or we have different type of our perception and how all is working. And I believe that's why many people looking for coaches, if they can help them.
Absolutely. Yes, because actually a few years ago, I myself went to a coach. To a coach maybe 5 years ago, because I realized, especially when I started having my YouTube channel, I just realized that many times a day I wanted to check how many views my interviews had. And it really disturbed me because, does it matter if some of my interviews have 5 views or 20 views or 200 views? So it doesn't really matter because the interview has been already done. And so I went to a coach. Sometimes you need to develop some kind of strategy for this.
Your work span multiple cultures and languages. And what have been some discoveries you've made about the universality of positivity in your global interactions? And why I'm asking this way? Because different cultures have specifics. And even jokes and humor in different languages, you should be on certain level of language development in order to use humor and proverbs that you're professional about. But when you start conversation with new person from different culture, there's some secrets how to show up your positivity other than smile.
First of all, I do research in humor for more than 30 years. And I think that humor is really fascinating. I have attended numerous conferences on humor. One of them was, for example, in US, in California. I have organized 8 humor conferences in Hungary or in Slovakia. But I'm not good in telling jokes. I'm not good in being humorous. But I'm very good just in being positive. First of all, I do not really like complaining. But in case if something is not really good for me, or I find the situation is not good, instead of complaining, I just ask myself a question: how can I solve it? What can I do now? Or maybe something has already happened. Maybe I cannot change this situation. In June, I had a conversation with one of my friends, and so she did something I didn't really like, really. And I just told her, okay, now you have already done it. And I told her that, please tell me how next time we should agree, how we should communicate with you that this thing doesn't happen. And I think it's a kind of positivity that I believe that with this person, we can have better relationship. And I share it with her. A few years ago, when the pandemic started, I attended a course on laughter yoga. And it was really fantastic. For 1 month, every single day, we were supposed to spend at least 10 minutes, but maybe 1 hour. It depended on how free we were that day. People from various countries in the world were supposed to meet and just to start laughing, nothing else. And there were 5 of us or 20 of us, or sometimes even about 500 people. It depended on the time. And we just started laughing. And it was amazing. When you just start laughing, you laugh without any reason.
No, but here people go to this kind of courses or workshop with intention. But what in situation you met new person from different culture, even from culture you're very familiar with, and you're trying to get good relationship or good impression, to connect, as we say, to connect with person.
But if I want to connect with person, main thing for me is not to talk about me, but main thing for me is to listen. Very few people can listen. For me, it's just like to ask this person about certain things which are interesting for this person. So I think a better connection might happen with this. And for example, if I ask a certain question and afterwards another question comes, And afterwards, this person asks a question when I'm really interested in an answer. Because I'm a teacher of English, I'm also a coach, a psychologist, I can ask hundreds of questions immediately. But if I do not listen, if I just ask, there is no connection. I have actually a wonderful interview. I recorded it a few years ago. I attended a workshop on mindfulness, and it was fantastic. And after this workshop, I wrote letters to 2 American teachers of mindfulness who were present there. So I just simply wrote down their names. I had never met them before that. I wrote to them and I offered to them to record interviews about mindfulness. And with one of them, we recorded an interviews about mindful listening. And for example, this teacher, she's from New York. In her opinion, it's the most important thing which can connect us. So it's not that I show you my positivity, because imagine if you're not in good mood, if we start laughing, you might not even join us. Or if you have some kind of frustration, if you are very sad, if you're angry and so on, if I show to you that I am so happy, I'm so positive, you might become irritated by my positivity. So from this point of view, it's very important, for example, just like if I have higher level of positivity than you at this particular moment, it's much better for me if I get a little bit down and if I start asking you some questions about you. And there is a word in the theory of communication, it's called mirroring. If I mirror you, afterwards, maybe when I ask you a couple of questions, maybe I can take you out of this spiral of negativity by asking some questions.
But some people just don't know how, even they lived long life, or there is something in between, even in family, between parents and children, stop us of hugging each other.
There is a movement, free hugs. In Budapest, there is a guy, years ago, he started, he's from England, he started having these events, Free Hugs Budapest. I think that they're everywhere, free hugs in some other cities as well. But if you do not have enough, I haven't taken part in it, but I have read about it and I have seen some videos about it.
Even in our festival, Age of Happiness, the first day, I would say the first assignment we get to hug person near you which you don't know. And obviously you cannot hug everyone on the street, but probably with some preparation you can do it. But yes, people get out of close relationship. In generally, we became more closed inside, or we afraid to express our feelings because sometimes we are not sure how person will accept it, and we need some preparation.
And I think it's very important, or at least for me, it's very important to have close friends. It's very important to have friends. It's very important to share my feelings. Not, I'm so angry with you, no, because with the vast majority of my friends, I have never been angry with them. So why should I share some kind of anger? But it's very important. Years ago, I read a book. I don't remember what kind of book it was, but in the book, they pointed out that if you have at least one person whom you can call any time of day or night, you will live 4 years more. Can you imagine that? And I have a very good friend of mine. Actually, he's my co-author. We have organized conferences and we do a lot of events with him. And we started discussing this, and I asked, and we were talking, and he told me, yes, you can call us. You can call me and my wife. I say, you can also call me and my wife. And I really know it doesn't mean that I will frequently call you at night. But it's very good that just years ago, something terrible happened in my life, and I just knew that who I will call immediately, and it was really fantastic to talk to this friend of mine. Or once, maybe 20 years ago, when also something very bad happened in my life, I called 2 friends of mine, and I told them, if you could come to me. And they came to me, and I was crying for maybe half an hour, and I was talking, and we spent a few hours together, and it was such a fantastic feeling. And a few years later, the same happened with one of my friends. She asked me, can I spend a few days with you? Can I live with you? Because really I'm not okay. I say, of course, come and stay. And I think it's really helped us.
Anna, I'm with you 150% of it. And it's how I grew up and understood the relationship. What I noticed lately, at least in North America, I'm not sure how in Europe, this notion that you need to be surrounded only by positive people, which we are, when circumstances are positive. Or even worse, you should get out of negativity. You should shield yourself from the negativity, which unfortunately sometimes or might be often part of our life at some period of time. It's what I notice. So people afraid, even their friends, okay, get to yourself and maybe after then I will connect with you. First of all, it's painful and you feel that you don't have friends when you need them, but they legitimize this by this notion. Okay, we need to be, we like positive energy. We like positive, everyone likes good attitude. And I feel that people sometimes afraid they will waste their emotional energy or not only in time.
Yes, because if you do not have enough strength inside, if you are empty inside, or if you yourself very negative person, it might be very hard for you to take someone's negativity. And I do not talk that you should surround yourself with negative people. When I say that, I also prefer surrounding myself with positive people. But in lives of all positive people, once in a life, someone will die. Once in a life, maybe you break up with your husband or with your boyfriend. Once in a while, tragedies happen with everyone. And from this point of view, I think it's very good if you have such friends with whom you can discuss it. And I have such friends, and I feel very happy about it. In US, I have some friends, or I used to have some friends who are either psychologists or psychotherapists. In US, very frequently, just if there is a problem, you are supposed to go to a psychotherapist, or you are supposed to go to a psychologist or to psychodrama and so on. But in Hungary, it's not the case. And I agree that there are some people there now, it's very trendy to talk about toxic people, toxic relationships. And some of them always complain. Some of them always say very negative things. So I think we should get rid of such people. But if someone has this particular problem in this moment, so I think that I, as a friend, if I do not help, at least emotionally,
people don't have friends. That's why they go to psychologists or they're losing because like your problem decided work on it professionally. And that's why I believe the whole industry of psychologists, with all respect, and there are many professionals when you need sometimes to help with some problems, but because people don't have friends. I realized it years ago. Why society in the development world, as they say, they don't have psychologists, but they're happier because they have family and friends. But with our smaller family and with a lot of divorces and empty nesting, and people found that they're in a situation where they need support. And again, going back to transformation and midlife, and I would like to wrap up maybe with additional nuggets of wisdom from you. What you would advise people who embracing the change in a midlife? It might be relocation or immigration, somebody say. It might be decision retiring from your previous life, I would say, to new life. It's a big stressor for many people. What you would advise?
first of all, I think we should try not to lie to ourselves. So if there is a problem in our life, either you go to a coach, go to a psychologist in case if this is needed. I do this so-called self-coaching. Or you can ask yourself some questions, but you ask yourself open questions like, what do I want now? What kind of life do I want to have in 5 years' time? Another question is very good question. If I continue living the life now, what is going to happen with me in 5 years' time? Or, for example, what happens if I do it? What happens if I don't do it? Or what doesn't happen if I do it? What happens if I don't do it? And so if you ask these kinds of questions, but try not to lie to you. A few years ago, I asked my friend who was in very unhappy marriage, and she got sick. She was taken to hospital. And I asked her, what do you think? I asked her, what is going to happen with you in 10 years' time if you continue having life like you have now? She said, I'm going to die by that time. And what about 5 years' time? I will die by that time as well. And a few weeks later, she decided to divorce. And she was so happy that she could do it. She was in that relationship for 40 years. So imagine, for 40 years. And it was extremely toxic relationship, but she was afraid of doing it. But sometimes if someone has, for example, this disease, someone has another problem, just ask yourself this question. And afterwards, you can also ask yourself a question, and what can I do now in order to become happier? So I think actually every single day we should ask ourselves this question. For example, how can I make my life happier now? If I watch some terrible news, will it help me? Or will I be able to help people in Israel if I spend 5 hours a day watching the news or the problems? Or if I watch what is happening now in Ukraine or here or there? So how will it happen? How will it help me? And how will it help them? And if you answer your question, if a few days ago I talked to a friend of mine who lives in Kiev, and my father was born in Ukraine, my father was born in Kharkov, and my mother was born in Russia. And I have friends in Ukraine and in Russia, and we were talking about certain things. And she lives in Kiev, and she is so positive. You can find some people who might be in terrible circumstances. If I don't ask her, do you have electricity right now? If I don't ask her, what about this and that connected to the war, she will never talk about this. But she talks to you that I have started knitting a new sweater, or a few weeks ago I took part in a competition, I did this and that, and you see how happy you can be even if there is even if there is war in your country.
Yes, it's an art and it's a skill. Sometimes, and I've been recently in Ukraine. Yes, people living their life, and it's amazing that despite the war, people continue to live. And I know it's very important, and I lived myself through similar situation. And sometimes when you compare the life circumstances, it's really give you, as a person living in safe country, different look at circumstances and help you to evaluate your situation because all is comparable.
Absolutely. And years ago, when the war started, so almost 2.5 years ago, I have a friend of mine with whom we also studied at University of Practical Psychology, lives in Vienna. And Vienna, it's not Russia, it's not Ukraine, it's Vienna. And she felt so frustrated. Everyone was shocked, but she felt so frustrated. And I told her, call this peer of ours who lives in Kiev, and you will learn from her, the girl who lives in Kiev, how you can be happy, much happier than you are. I think it is very interesting. But there are some people, yes, and we saw a lot of very happy people who live in Israel.
Yes, it's a valuable thought to look around on other people. But for some people, anyways, they need encouragement in their particular situation. And please tell us how people can connect with you if they have certain questions.
First of all, I have a Facebook. I also have LinkedIn. I also have YouTube channel, and I also have an email. But I think the best way to connect is through LinkedIn or through the Facebook.
I would like to clarify that your workshops and courses are in Russian. You're working now for this target auditorium.
Yes, I do not have online workshops now. If I have some workshops, I have them at my university in Slovakia. But who knows, maybe one day I will start having workshops.
And it's exactly my last question for today. What is the next in Anna Litovkina journey of continuous growth and learning?
I have a list of courses which I would like to attend. I would like to do Vipassana, for example. I would like to do silent Vipassana one day. I don't know when, but one day I would like to do it. I would also like to do El Camino. And yesterday, while I was hiking with some people, 2 of them had already been to El Camino. If I go to El Camino, I will do it just on my own because what they said that it's the best if you do it just on your own. There are numerous countries where I would like to travel and I would like to hike a lot. For example, last year I went to Azerbaijan and I did some 4,000 meters. I was sleeping in a tent 4,000 meters high. This year I went to Kyrgyzstan and also we were hiking just like 3,000, 4,000 meters. We were hiking there for 10 days. And there are numerous places in the world where I would like to hike. And I would like to record numerous interviews. There are a lot of people with whom I would like. So actually, I have already some agreements for this Thursday and next week, in 2 weeks' time, and so on. So numerous interviews. I have actually maybe the person in the English language world with whom I would like to record an interview would be John Kabat-Zinn. But I haven't asked him to do it. So maybe I should ask. Maybe I should write. Because I think I'm not good enough.
You probably just need to find a way to approach him. And I believe he's a very busy person and with his full schedule. Anna, I was really enjoying our conversation. And I wish you very success in your each project, plan, interview, travel, workshops, or whatever you will do. And I believe there is a lot of things for you. And I wish the same for all of our listeners.
Thank you very much, Emily, for inviting me to be the guest of your podcast. And I would like to also to wish you and your listeners to have the most fantastic lives of joy and happiness and life full of transformation, because we do transformation every single day. So we change, and it's better if we ourselves plan certain kind of changes. Thank you.
Thank you. See you soon. As our conversation and the echoes of wisdom subsides, we wrap up another enriching episode of Age of Reinvention. A big thank you to our esteemed guest, Anna Litovkina, for sharing her delightful stories and invaluable insights into the transformative power of humor, positive thinking in the process of self-reinvention. Dear listeners, today's conversation has left you feeling motivated and I hope equipped with some fresh ideas to infuse positivity into your life's next chapter. If Anna's words have sparked curiosity or lit a path for your midlife transition, we encourage you to explore her work through her books, courses, and engaging social media presence. You can find the links below the interview. And remember, the journey of reinvention is as much about finding joy in the process of it as it about reaching new destinations. Until next time, keep laughing, dreaming, working towards your target, and reinventing, because the best chapters of your story are waiting to be written. Thank you for tuning in to Age of Reinvention. Be sure to join us for our next episode, and in the meantime, stay inspired and positive. Goodbye for now.